I have. Well, I have, but I had to. If I open the curtains here to my left, I just get bleached out completely. So I've had to. I've had to, unfortunately, sort of block
Lock.
out all the sun and put my lights on. So essentially, I have a window, bright window to the side of me. Yeah, no, it's very nice weather today. Beautiful.
How are you feeling coming to
Okay.
the end of all of the residencies? How did what was the other company, the really cool company, Improbable?
Yeah, they've got another session tomorrow. Their penultimate session tomorrow, and then they have another session on the sixth. Their final session on the 6th of May.
Mm.
So yes, yeah, they're trying out some interesting ideas. Um, yeah, they've been doing the residency for quite a period of time, on and off. They've been doing sort of quite long gaps in between. So yes, I'm yeah, it's coming. The project is coming to an end, but Alice is joining us as well. I just let everyone in as we. Wonderful. Yeah, no, the project is coming to an end, but we're in the process of applying for some follow-on funding, which will allow us to continue the project potentially with an exhibition. So we would actually create an exhibition that would tour, that would show all the works that were created in the exhibition, and also create an interactive green screen exhibit, and let the audience, gallery and workshops come in and actually try and make their own performance in a gallery. If you've ever, I don't know if you've ever seen there was a wonderful exhibition by an artist, the name's gone now, but he made the film Be Kind, Rewind years ago, and he did an exhibition of where people make their own movies in the gallery, and you get free cameras given to you, and you can walk around, and they get empty sets, and you have to sort of make your own film. And it's a little bit that sort of approach. So we're looking at doing an exhibition, touring exhibition, and we would then use all the case studies as a catalogue, and presentations of all the videos and that sort of thing. So that would be our aim. So hopefully that's something for the future. But yes, it's coming to an end in May.
Yeah, I like the idea of the green screen exhibition and being able to kind of like make your own stuff. That sounds ideal and fun. I would definitely
Yeah.
do that.
So people can put their own sets in and then act, improvise to the sets as they come in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the plan afterwards. And I've got to get on and put the funding bit in, but it's for follow-on funding. So sometimes the chances of getting it are much higher because you've already had the grant before. So it gives you that extra opportunity. It's a limited. But anyway, I won't take up too much of your time today. Thank you for joining me. I know everyone's making moves this afternoon. They're off in different directions, and so we've moved the session forward to 10 o'clock, which is great. And thank you for joining us. I think Chloe is here as well.
Yes, I'm here.
I think so. Hi, Chloe. Hi, good to see you.
Hi, Chloe.
Excellent. So it's been really good just to sort of hear some of your thoughts about the residency, and from the sort of early. You sort of did it in 2 blocks, the first week and then the second week, just to hear how your sort of experience developed from the start, and the sort of playing and the fun, and the sorts of taking that into your sort of production, and how that's sort of gone for you, really. Perhaps I know that there were lots of technical problems with bandwidth and other things, and we had difficulties. Tom had a terrible time having to move around. We don't know what the issue was. Still don't know. But and your network now, Tom, is perfectly fine. So I don't know. So
I look lovely now, but maybe it's just VMix. I'm just allergic to VMix in this. Plus, allergic to VMix.
You have a VMix allergy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was very interested to hear from Chloe about how moving it so that it was going into Zoom, like how that felt, moving from the initial VMix week to then putting stuff into Zoom.
Because everyone else you weren't here for, I think it was kind of Monday afternoon, where there was a lot of time spent on some sound issues that were happening in Zoom. And I think that was one of the biggest differences, was having to kind of freshly grapple with sound stuff and put a bit more time towards making sure there was time to troubleshoot that each time we kind of opened up. Aside from that, like Zoom ISO was a super useful tool that I'm going to try and like get a copy of for myself, because that makes a really big difference. And I can really see using that in a lot of instances in the future. And so that was a really good tool to be introduced to. I think it was mainly that. There was also, like, Paul was great at kind of patiently talking me through some things in terms of getting the right balance of audio through to Zoom, so that we could hear the right things and people on Zoom could hear the right things. But that was one of the slightly trickier, more kind of granular bits of vMix as well. There's some really lovely functionality of vMix, and it didn't feel like it was too hard to pick up. But there definitely feels like a textural difference between, say, OBS, which I would say, from my experience, is a bit more focused on like improvised stuff. So like editing that picture in the moment or doing this thing, because often with OBS it's kind of one click to select anything you need and just stretch it on screen, etc., rather than vMix's pop-up. So vMix feels like it's better set up for more complex presets, whereas OBS sits somewhere else. So that's kind of, for me, like an interesting technical balance of what those two bits of software do best. Yeah, that's how it felt in terms of moving it to Zoom. The one thing that cropped up yesterday, I sent a private message, I think it was to Peter, it was whoever was down as Sharp Teeth. For some reason, Zoom ISO wouldn't recognize Tom Black, who was the other audience member who'd done an automatic green screen. And whenever I tried to make a individual input for Tom, it just came up as a black screen, which was something I hadn't seen before, and so hadn't had a chance to troubleshoot. Thankfully, it caught Jack, because that was really nice. Seeing Jack's reaction when he was on screen was super, super lovely, and I can see how there's loads more beautiful things you could play with there. That was just a weird thing that cropped up with Zoom ISO that would be kind of like a further investigation thing.
Yeah, I guess when we're testing, you've only got 3 people to test it on in that moment, and 1 out of the 3 didn't work. It's like, how many people will that not work for if you push it out? Is it just 1 out of 100? But you won't know until you've got like a whole audience in, and you're like, okay, we always lose 10 of them.
Tom is also more of the kind of like technical people I know, so I don't know if there's something weird on his computer with like security settings or some weird setting that is resistant to it. Everyone else, like myself and my partner and Peter and Jack, everyone else I tried it on, it was fine. Yeah, I don't want to give other people a chance to talk.
And Alice and Tom, how did that feel with like performing into vMix and hearing, like, how much could you see of audiences?
I logged into Zoom very quickly just to see what it looked like, and it looked like how I expected. So I was like, okay, great. There wasn't much like, and then other than that, like it didn't. I don't know about Tom, but like it didn't affect us at all. Like whatever, like wonderful work Chloe was doing to make that all work. I have absolutely no idea.
Yeah.
It sounded very complicated, but for us it didn't. I don't think it made any sort of difference from the week before when it was just vMix, to be honest, in terms of like us.
But did it, in terms of like performing for an audience, did it feel weird in comparison to our previous shows where you can't see?
Oh, I see. Sorry.
Yeah. No, just like, because obviously I guess there would probably be a way to make it so that you could eventually see some of the audience members and the chat, but I guess there wasn't. It's a little bit weird, isn't it, not being able to see that in some ways, but you also need to see your screen really clearly.
Yeah.
So moving. So
because I mean, obviously we could hear everyone, but you know what it's like with doing Sherlock, it's just hearing people's really hard, because it's just whoever's bandwidth is quicker, and those will always be the people that come in. Whereas when you can see people doing this. My question, and so they lose out if we can't see them.
It was interesting, I think, because vmix is like, as a performer, is so simple. Like basically there is nothing for the performer to do apart from, you know, obviously I was having internet issues, so I just had to click reconnect every now and again. So from a performer point of view, it's like, oh, I didn't have to do anything with breakout rooms. I don't have to click any buttons or anything like that. So that was really interesting. You're just like, oh, I just have to stand here and perform. So that was nice. But then yeah, that it would be nice to see in the future how you'd bring in the being able to see everyone, because that was something I was like, oh, I want to be able to see everyone again, even if you've got a separate laptop with the Zoom on. That would be great.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that initial image needs like as many people as can be green screened on into the image, so you can just immediately see them in that image, and like in a lecture theatre on the or in the bar of the thing, like everywhere.
Joy.
If the interviews like had all of the people in that group like somehow green screened in, whether it was like as though it was the other side of, you know, a window or something like that. There's definitely kind of more ways you could bring people in.
It was such a joy when Jack Drury got dragged in, I think, for both him and for us, because he was like, oh my God, I'm in. And it was so lovely. And then, I think there would be loads of scope to be like, because obviously in previous Sherlocks, we're asking the question to the camera and it feels like we're asking the question to you. But with this, with the telepresence idea, it can be like, oh, I'm asking the question to you here, trying to get them to interact. That would be quite nice to have something to play with in the future. I think that it was really nice, a really nice moment, I thought.
Yeah, definitely.
That's really interesting. Yeah,
it's interesting, isn't it, how much like when you bring them in, it like there's all this element of play coming in, which is really nice. And it's like how do you hold that alongside also holding the narrative as well? How like when because we're doing something that is so exact in like people needing to pay attention and really clue in. Whereas maybe in some ways a murder mystery isn't the best format for like this to work in, or like does it kind of like limit some of the play options? It's interesting to think about that.
I thought the silhouette stuff was really useful for us as well. It both in like a telepresence sense, it made the telepresence really easy because you don't have to do the awkward like, oh, am I in the right place? That makes that much easier. But also just in a murder mystery, it just makes it like we don't know who these people are. So I thought that was really good. Although we went down a bit of a silly route with like me and Alice doing the different theories of the murder, I could really see that being used in the future of like this is like a key part of the mystery. You have to watch this reenactment, and what is this thing in their hand? Is it, you think it's a cup, but actually it's something else.
The thing that I think was like most successful for the murder mystery was Shartington being able to immerse everyone in the world of it so easily. Like, because before there's a lot of information for our audience to gather with just one person sat there telling them. We have got better at that, but like the fact that I could go onto the radio tower and point to the thing, like I just think immediately an audience is like there with you. Like I think that was really helpful. I think the thing that's not so helpful is in the interview aspects of it. The thing that's really lovely about the way we do it before with a real set is us being able to touch things and not being able to do that is probably less satisfying for an audience, because they're going to want me to pick up that dead penguin or like so there's definitely like bits that are really, really great, and then bits that are like, so it's just
it'd be interesting to see how you can find a way to best mix those aesthetics, because that's what we've kind of been doing in the most recent one, is like mixing the aesthetics of that.
It feels like there's potentially with like a bit more and prop stuff, like if you had a table or a tall stool covered with some green screen stuff and then like an appropriate looking box on top of it, you could then have like a box on Penguin's thing that has stuff in it. And I'll just throw in, while we're talking about kind of like good moments, because I had some bits of feedback from Tom and Jaya, two of my folks who were able to come. Jaya said that his favorite moment, partially because it just like was so silly and like really embracing it, was the handshake.
Yeah.
He really liked the handshake at the end just because it felt very good tonally. And Tom really enjoyed the doing people's theories over the projector, because I think especially also like Tom's been to a lot of murder mystery things where if you come up with a theory and it's wrong, they're just like, no, you're stupid, here's the answer. Rather than actually like play, like than it being a game between everyone that's clearly like everyone having fun together with all these ideas and seeing it acted out, I think he really enjoyed.
You almost like in that moment, you almost want to be able to like see Chloe like sweating over the keyboard.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like there's this company called Entre Cowards, and they have shows where like you'll see the tech and they're like in the middle of the hub trying to like get everything going. I want to like see Chloe like
As
definitely
Taggart.
to improvise. Yeah.
If like
Oh my God.
genuinely, if I had like more time to prep, because that's my favorite thing in like live shows that I've done live sound for, is when someone's like, I'm gonna turn into a whale, and I'm like, okay, I've got 30 seconds, I know I have a whale song sound effect on here, I just need to put it in the right place, blah blah blah, and then playing it in time. It would just then be like, okay, if I have a general bank of sounds, and that's obviously not going to cover everything, someone might throw up, but there can be that stuff to play with as well. And I guess, you know, put like a fairy hat on me and call me just like the camp technician or something who only gets seen at points if you did really want to see someone being like, oh shit, or resorting to just like having to do a vocal sound effects because there are no pre-programmed ones, so just like trying to do live Foley could be quite fun.
Yeah.
And in terms of like it was quite interesting because we talked a little bit about it at the end of the week one, which was like, does like this being almost like a bigger like format, like talking, this vmix, I'm not explaining it very well, the vmix format being like it kind of becomes a bit more of a bigger performance, an auditorium feel, talking to people, and whereas the breakout rooms always felt quite intimate, and that end bit having that audience interaction, part of me feels like it would be really easy for the performers to be like, to pick out in like for Chloe who exactly we should ask to feedback. Like I feel like by the end of the show the performers would probably in the WhatsApp group would be able to be like, Captain Cinnamon is really good. If you like, if they're saying pen at this point, choose them and see what they say. Like, or like just like overhearing who's got good theories, that would be really funny to act out in those moments. So you kind of almost know a bit what's coming for the end. Yeah,
really interesting things. I just a quick thought about, you know, you talked earlier on. It's interesting because your experience of Zoom is directly in Zoom. When you perform in Zoom, you are in the same location your audience are in. Whereas in vMix with the Telepresence stage and other systems we've used, you are in a kind of production space or a separate space where you're performing, and that's being sort of streamed in to Zoom. And so you were one of the first groups who's really explored that idea of bringing the Zoom experience, the audience, into this telepresence space, which was really interesting. And as you say, working with that bit of software, Zoom ISO, was really good. But I wonder whether even whether you could bring in people rather like these sort of I think in Teams it's called together mode. I think there's a similar sort of thing in Zoom, but in you could actually have an opportunity to sort of occasionally have all your audience there. So there's a kind of flipping, almost like a quick moment of like, well, there's the audience, or even there's Chloe doing work. So you get that general experience of all the people all involved with just coordination. It might be interesting just to sort of get that flip backwards and forwards sense of togetherness.
it doesn't feel like maybe it's the thing for ice, but that might just be because I don't know it as well. But like definitely with murder at the Olympics or with murder at the games, I can imagine like you look at one of the blocks of all the people that are like staying there, and it's just like a different person in each window. So even if they're not green screened, it's still really simple to kind of like pop them in, and it kind of looks nice. And you've just got, oh well, they're all staying on the Olympic site, so there's them at their windows or something like that.
Yeah, I suppose as well you could have in the auditor, in an auditorium, one of the racing places, or even Murder at the Circus. It could be they're all sitting in the big tent as well.
Yeah.
One thing we didn't really, just from a tech point of view, obviously with that run through, we didn't include any of the usual messages that we'd have and the setting and going into breakout rooms. Chloe, I'm just interested of like how manageable you think all of those aspects would be on top of everything that was being done in vMix as well.
Partially it depends on timing, because like there are certain sections, like for instance when Alice was just going like, here's Doug's body, here's get your bearings, that's actually like a fairly neat bit of time where stuff can be sent through. It very much depends on certain bits and how many things I'm kind of clicking through, but I guess that is one of the things where, because vMix is more about having a lot of things preset, I'm primarily just clicking between scenes, not too much, or trying to avoid doing too much kind of like behind the scenes fiddling while stuff's happening. In terms of breakout rooms, unless we had like loads of vMix setups, or everyone's using digital backgrounds and is just in Zoom or something, like I can't see how we would maintain the vMix visuals in all of those breakout rooms. So I mean, I guess you could do kind of what was done with games, which is the stuff in the main Zoom typically is digital backgrounds and digital stuff, and then in the breakout rooms it's physical backgrounds. Because I can't see how we'd spread them through breakout rooms.
Yeah, it's like, this is the difficulty of the show, is like keeping the audience small enough, like that it feels intimate, but also like knowing that it takes quite a large team of us to run it, like, and the constant like pull of like finances on that. But I mean, it's always, the technician role has always been quite a hectic role, and it's just the difficulty with Zoom is like sharing the host role. So that's, you probably need a Zoom technician who's specifically like audience managing and running that aspect of things, and then also probably someone to hold the kind of the opening and the ending, or
remembering I think there was only one show in games that I tech, but remembering putting everyone into breakout rooms, because everyone's got different names and you're trying to make sure that the friends are with the friends and all that kind of stuff, and people are having trouble with renaming themselves, etc. That's something that I definitely think would be a struggle to do alongside keeping up with everything that's happening in vMix at the top.
Definitely need like a front of house manager, effectively.
Yeah,
for,
basically.
Like, answering emails, like checking with people's tech and stuff. It's just like, that is something that potentially an actor could do in that first bit if they weren't in that first scene. But if you were, anyway, this is the logistics of like how you would manage that.
Just a quick question for Tom and Alice, actually. I mean, from the point of view of performing in this space, what do you think? You had to work to constraints, room sizes, that sort of thing, but you did have a sense of you two coexisting or performing together. Are there sorts of things you'd like to have explored more, or would have had more time to look at, or what would you like to? You mentioned, Tom, about the silhouette and the strangling scene and all these sorts of things. I'm just curious to know how much you two felt like you were collaborating, or you were together in a sense.
Yeah, in the first week, it definitely felt like when we were doing the experiments, it felt very like collaborative. Yeah, especially when we're doing the strangling experiments, and yeah, I remember some moments. Maybe I think what would be good is to, in the future, it would have been good to maybe experiment with us having set some theory or something where we have to interact, or like we did very briefly think about the passing of an item. Like, is there a way we could do that? That would be interesting. I think what happened in the second week was we relied on it. We like sort of fell back on the tech is proving a little bit difficult with the internet. Let's just go back to what we know, which is Alice being a good improviser. But I think like that kind of thing is the theory, and like passing items and things. The one thing I actually think would be really good is like, we're passing the seal livers over, and then you've got it and you're putting it in the cod liver kind of thing. If there's a way to do that, maybe some sort of magic trick.
Well, yeah. One of the ways, of course, is to hand it over, but slightly take it off screen and to have identical props. So it's organising identical props in Bristol and London that you can quickly conceal on screen, then it comes up on screen, and that way you get that sense of handing something across.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would love to see, and there's probably scope for us to do it, but like just more of that, like when me and Tom were like trying to kiss or like fight, or just like have a really natural scene where you pass each other things. There's like slight contacts, just like really playing with that. But also, like we were talking about, that really relies, the comedy of that and the impressiveness relies on the audience knowing that we're not in the same room.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
So like I don't know how we would do that in our show, because we've got a moment in our Murder at the Circus show, which a character passes a letter like this, and then the other character receives it, which the audience just love. It's so simple, but they know that we're in separate rooms because it's very much Zoom blocks. But I just think all of that is like so lovely and just really delightful. So yeah, it would have been nice to play a bit more with that.
You say they know that you're in separate rooms. The amount of people that ask the question, like, so are you all working in the same room?
Yeah, that's true, actually.
And I think there's something really nice about Sherlock and like the tech, where we can like add the joke in of like, Pen, I can't quite seem to touch your hand. It's like I'm in a whole nother room from you. Like that. Like, is there ways of dropping that in, or is it even as much as like, or do you make it really obvious? Do you just state it? Does like Al Sharto say it at the beginning or something?
Yeah, I wonder if there's a scope. I mean, this is like, but I wonder if we do, like, if we ever did, if this would work more successfully in a different murder setting. Like if we did decide to set one on a spaceship.
Yeah. Or
like, and then you could potentially, it's more in the world if you do suddenly drop vMix and you see the green screens, or if we set it on a film set, and so you had these amazing like big fight scenes, and then you saw all the actors in their separate green screen rooms. I just like, so it's more in the world of the murder.
Yeah. I think that's a really nice idea. Yeah, like you're literally saying that all of the actors are in green screen rooms. Is that what you're saying, Alice?
Maybe, yeah. I'm just thinking of a way that you could tell the audience that, but it's kind of still in the world of the murder.
I definitely I see that, like, the golden age of Hollywood, and it's like they're on one of the classic sets, but we put, maybe they didn't have green screens back then, but they're now in the green screen rooms, and they've agreed to act out some of your theories.
Yeah.
Well, our next murder mystery should be in 1990, so I wonder, that's right at the stage of like green screens. Were green screens around then?
Oh yes, yeah.
So, right, so we could set it in a university department with a load of warring lecturers working with green screen. Starring a young.
Oh yes. I can see it now. Yes. I mean, there's lots of things you can do, of course, with even the meeting mode that Chloe had set up. You have a kind of in the sort of vMix system. We were using a meeting mode that is similar to the kind of mode we're in now, and you could even introduce your cast but at the beginning rather than at the end, so everyone knows actually yes they are all in different spaces. It gives that sense of something. We're reminded of it being rather like Zoom or some other kind of video conference system. But I mean, I really hope you can develop some more work out of this. I mean, I think you've probably dipped your foot into it. You know, it's just really in the few sessions you've had, you've really learned a lot and got a lot out of it, I think. So yeah, it's really exciting to see what you do next.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've definitely got some things to think about. Basically, I think I need to buy a building and 12 laptops.
Yes.
£150,000 minimum to fully equip everyone with 2 laptops and hire
studios.
Yeah. But it'll be interesting to see how we can. Like it was so, like Alice said, it was so useful. I'm quite a visual person, and so like when we went to see Murder Mysteries before and they just reeled off all of the facts, I just didn't absorb it. And having that location change and having that visual cue with it just really, I think, really helps people absorb the information and enjoy it. So there's lots of things that we've learned from this which I think might be really useful as we go forward. We had talked about our next murder mystery being set at Crufts, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Sounds fantastic. Well, I think we've I don't want to take up too much of your time, so I think we've really covered a lot in that, and it's really good to get your feedback. What we'll be doing with the residency, we'll be making a case study on each company that we've worked with, and as I say, and then we'll put your final performance recording out, and make a short edit as well. I might like to use some of the material that you developed in the first weeks as well in that, if that's possible. If you're okay with that, I don't want to edit. I don't want to. I'll keep your performance as it is completely, but we might just for the short edit, we might just use some clips of bits earlier on that worked very well, particularly on the second day when Tom's network was working beautifully, or whether I don't know what it was, but it was something. But we had a really good session, and I think some of the sessions in the afternoons when you just were playing was really interesting as a kind of a good example of how you were working with it. Well, just one thing I wanted to mention, of course, that bringing text in. There's so much that you introduced that hasn't been discussed, hasn't been used before, that really is just at the tip of understanding what the potential is. And one of those things was bringing in text. We didn't fully explore it, but potential is there to bring in all your comments directly from Zoom into the telepresence stage setup. So that might be something to explore in the future.
Yeah. And is it totally possible for the performers to see that without the audience seeing it necessarily, or that a separate thing? Or they would need Zoom open on a separate computer almost for them to see that.
If they want to see the kind of back channel of the text coming from Zoom, they would need another channel on another program opened up. They really would need the Zoom meeting alongside their other.
If we used it, it would need to be visible for everyone.
Yes, if you bring the text in, everyone can see it because it becomes part of the actual scenography design.
Just flashing back to this small child just writing fart jokes repeatedly in the chat.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing that comes up. But you don't. But I mean, you can do it. We could potentially automate it, and I'm sure we could find a programmer that could automate the link from the chat from Zoom directly into IRC, or somebody on the production team copies and pastes it into the IRC, and they could actually decide, do you know what, that line ain't going to go into the show, but I can put that one in, and so you could literally just copy and paste people's comments that are you want to have where you want them. But it would mean another production. It's probably for Chloe that wouldn't be possible, but another production person, another producer on the scenes doing that bit could be done from anywhere. Anyone could do it.
Very much depends on when that's coming up and how many other things are happening at that point. I do like the idea. I don't know why this is the thing that comes to my head. I like the idea of, like, if Shartington is currently in the process of writing like a novel or something, but the text is actually stuff that the audience have written as to what Shartington's novel is in chat. So you see Shartington like typing at a little typewriter, but that's the text that's coming up on the page. But I don't know why that's where my head goes.
I am stupid. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really good device for all of those audience members whose internet is a bit slow and they're desperate to communicate something to their team members, but they can't get their voice in. So like to type something to communicate would be like really good.
Yeah, if it was almost like a telegram that was being sent or something, depending on the time period.
Yeah, telegram, pop, like just these things popping up in the corner. Yeah, that would be really interesting.
Excellent. I think it's all possible, actually. I think it's just within the program you can do a lot of things like that, and I hope you can find an opportunity to explore it some more. Be great. All right. Well, I'll say I thank you so much. Wonderful working with you. Really enjoyed the performance, and I think it really your particular dramaturge really lends itself to this technology, and I really hope you can explore some more with it. And please do let me know if there's anything I can do to help, and if there's anything you need from me. All the equipment, of course, is we will leave with you, so you have all the green screens and cameras. So hopefully they'll come in useful, and you can use them again. So lights and all the rest of it is for you to keep and use for future productions. But please do let us know if you're doing any more work, and if you do use the work, just a little credit to the project would be wonderful.
Yeah, thank you so much, Paul. It was really interesting, and I'll let you know what we get up to with it in the future. And definitely happy to credit. And team, I'll be in contact with you all, but about invoicing and picking up all of the equipment. So expect an email soon from me. But yeah, thank you again, Paul.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you, Chloe, by the way. Wonderful work, Chloe. Really appreciate that.
Thank you so much for your help and support with all that, Paul.
No problem.
Thank you, Peter, as well, for coming in on the last week as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, well done, everyone. Yay.
All right.
Have a lovely Thursday.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.